Good evening, everybody. We are calling the 6 p.m. Town Council public hearing on the budget to order, and we will begin. This is 2025-2026 fiscal year budget is proposed by the town manager and superintendent of schools. We'll begin with a roll call. Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Councilor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Councilor Cortez.
Here.
Councilor Fay.
Here.
Councilor McGinnis.
Present.
Councilor Poland.
Here.
Councilor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Here.
Councilor Zdanowitz.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff, and good evening, everyone. We will begin with the sign-up sheet. Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. But in the meantime, Mr. Clerk, have you received any written comments?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we've received 3 emails. They've all been posted to Civic Clerk. The first was from a Catherine Washburn, who had grave concerns about the proposed increase in the town's budget and taxes. The second was from Chris Wyville, dated, April 7th, also having concerns about the proposed tax increase. And the last was dated April 7th from Diomid and Olive Weberman, expressing the same thing about the proposed tax increase.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. All right, so I'm going to say the name and then the person on deck. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Just correct it, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak unless you represent a official group, and then you have 5 minutes to speak. And if anybody hasn't signed up, we will ask for your, if you want to comment. So don't say, oh no, I missed the sign up. Okay, starting with Gregory Donovan, and on deck is Jane Barter.
Hi, my name is Gregory Donovan. I live at 50 Leonard Road in West Hartford, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My wife was coming here, and I just came here last minute, impromptu. But I work at TD Bank, and I lend money to municipalities, so I kind of know what's going on with this type of stuff. And I went through the budget. Our budget's going up 6.5% expenditure-wise, and I know that's cause for some concern. In going through it, I do notice that the number of employees has stayed the same, both in the school and town employees. I realize that the expense increase is largely with salaries that are based on the union, their pensions, OPEC obligations, medical, special education, and school transportation. A lot of these expenses are somewhat fixed. They're not elastic. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. And if you look at our total expenses, a lot of the town's expenses are salaries, benefits, and then legacy costs for retired individuals. And that's something we can't really change. We can't do much about. So my whole thing is maybe we should be looking at other raising revenues outside of property taxes in this town just to lessen the burden. I know we're doing a revaluation in October 1st of 2026. And I can't help but think that with all the development, with all the condos that are going up here, our grand list will go up, and that will allow the mill rates to come back down again. We'll still raise more tax revenues, but we'll be paying less in taxes personally. So that will be easier on the average taxpayer. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope that comes to fruition when we do our October 1st, 2026, revaluation. I know that's going on. And that's about it. I just, again, I went through it. I went through your budget. And, the number of employees has stayed the same. We're not inflating anything. The number of employees, I think in 2022 and 2023 were the same as they are now. So we're not like adding staff or anything unnecessarily. So I just think what we have to do is just take a good look at other other ways to raise money outside of property taxes, in addition to just looking at making some hard choices at the next budget cycle with just control, maybe some education costs. And then just hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that this new evaluation raises the grand list, the commercial grand list. So the average taxpayer has their mill rate reduced and they pay less in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. And just a comment, not on Mr. Donovan's comments, because that's not what we do. I just want to say that we don't have a back and forth at a public hearing. We only listen to your comments. So I just want to make sure. So if there's our conversations that are outside of the, we're happy. I mean, the town manager can talk offline, and any one of us can respond to your questions. So next is Jane Barter, and then Scott Carter.
Hi, committee and fellow residents of West Hartford. My name is Jane Barter. I live at 27 Price Boulevard here in West Hartford, and I also have a family insurance agency that has been in my family for 62 years now on Dale Street in the centre. I am respectfully here today to voice my concern on the budget, particularly the education funding, which has gone up $53 million in 4 years. Out of the general fund of $370 million, $215 million is proposed for the West Hartford Public Schools. I am not undermining the importance of our schools, but that is 57% of the entire budget. I, like many of you, have had a child that has benefited from the wonderful education in our school system. However, that is a hell of a lot of money. In West Hartford, we have a population of 65,000, and some 50,600 are over 18 years old. Bear in mind, some are not taxpayers, but for argument's sake, let's use that figure to approximate the cost per person of funding education in this town. The figure is $4,250 approximately per person per year, although I feel it's much higher. $215 million. But despite such a huge amount of funding, the budget seems so vague as to how each category of spending is broken down or estimated. One figure per line per category is not good enough for the hardworking residents of this town. The huge amount collectively spent each year certainly justifies itemized accounting and transparency. How else can we see the full picture? When you go to Stop and Shop for your weekly supplies, although you could categorize your visit as the store, it isn't necessarily just groceries. You may purchase toiletries, medication, paper goods, flowers, wood for a fire, or gift cards, etc. You leave with a full comprehensive list of the items and what you've spent. You are not just given a receipt with that final dollar amount on. Then, when you look back on spending at month or year end, you can ascertain what was spent. Did I go too crazy? And okay, maybe I should buy flowers just once a month rather than every week. And should I have ordered my wood in bulk? Common sense budgeting. Maybe rather than looking at what was spent in the past year and creating a budget from that, just start at a zero balance. Looking at every item and build it up. Did you overspend last year? Do you really need those update services? A pay rise is viable.
Ms. Barter, your 3 minutes is up, so if you could wind up. Thank you.
I will. I have no doubt that this budget will be passed. However, I urge the committee to provide a much more detailed budget plan next year so every penny is accounted for. We, the residents of this great town, are grateful for your services, but we want to see where our hard-earned tax dollars are going so we can really get to the bones of the spending plan. Look after the pennies, and the dollars will look after themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Barter. Scott Carter, and then Michelle Forbes.
Hello, Scott Carter, 19 Colton Road. Since moving to West Hartford in 2021, my property taxes have increased 14.28%. The proposed increase would make that 22%. and that's only if the assessed value remains the same. For my family, which includes 2 young children going to West Hartford Public Schools, that's almost $3,000 more per year. That level of tax increase caused me to dig deeper and try to understand how these funds were being spent. I did what no one should ever do, which is read the annual comprehensive financial report. The 2024 ACFR states on page 29 that the town's governmental funds decreased by $5 million from the previous year. I won't go into details. There's so many different charts and graphs, but they all show the same thing, that expenses were higher than revenues year after year. In some cases, hundreds of $1 million higher than revenues. There's a chart that says that as far back as 2017, we have had a negative net amount of revenue in this town. So I would appreciate some layman's term understanding of those charts in that document so that I can make sense of how we have a balanced budget, and yet in these charts we seem to always have a negative final balance. One thing that I've noted in reading the document is that we're assuming a tax collection rate of 99.1%, even though that's only been the case once, that we've only collected 99.1% of taxes in a given fiscal year. And every subsequent year when collections are made, we collect close to 100%. So it might make sense to assume a higher tax collection rate, which would lower the necessity to increase the mill rate as much as you have. There are 169 municipalities in Connecticut. The proposed West Hartford mill rate of 45.21 would make us the 7th highest effective mill rate in the entire state. Every municipality with a higher mill rate has a substantially lower grand list total. Waterbury is the closest to West Hartford, and it's almost $2 billion lower per year. With this combination of high mill rates and high property taxes, the citizens of West Hartford are taxed at a significantly higher level than those in surrounding neighborhoods. And despite our enormous taxes and spending more per student than 5 surrounding school divisions, we get outperformed each year in test results. West Hartford Public Schools doesn't meet the state performance index goal of 75 in any of the 3 measured areas, English, math, or science, and hasn't for the past 3 years. Over the past few years, West Hartford Public Schools scored below surrounding school divisions in all 3 categories in every year except for 1, and that was only by 1% in 1 category. There's an accountability index that the state puts together, the combined score of 12 indicators designed to provide a holistic, multi-factor perspective of distinct and school performance. West Hartford Public Schools has the lowest score of the divisions compared in each of the past 5 school years. It hasn't met the target goal of 85 in those years and scored a 77.2. I heard that. In the last year, the lowest competing divisions were Glastonbury and Avon, both tied at 81.1. There's one very large line item increase for the public school division. That's a $13 million budget item for out-of-district students. Those are students who have exceptional or unique educational needs. $13 million would be
Mr. Carter,
spread.
if you could, thank you.
Almost done. $13 million would be spread across 130 students. That's $100,000 per student per year, which is over 4.5 times what we spend on students in the division. Let's see here. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Michelle Forbes and then Christopher Willville.
Thank you. Michelle Forbes, Bisgrove Lane. First, I want to thank the town council for your service. That's not my forte. I wouldn't do that for the life of me. So thank you very much. But you do have to listen to us. I'm not going to repeat what other people have said. And by the way, your comments so far are really educational to me, and I thank you very much. I've never had a child. Therefore, I've never used a dime of the Board of Education budget and their expenses. I'm now a senior. I'm not getting a pay raise, but I still have to pay my taxes. 25% of the census in the town of West Hartford are seniors that are not getting raises. We're not getting any cost of living increase either. Some of us aren't collecting our Social Security, so we're living off of the budget that we thought that we had prepared carefully. It's not there. There's a lot of construction going on around here. Yay! The problem I have with that is they're not all condominiums. They're apartments. And those individuals who are coming into the town going to be living in apartments are going to bring children with them. We don't know how many. but they're going to go into our school systems. And you can't predict what that volume is going to be. We need to be prepared for that. But also, might we be prepared for the consolidation of the many elementary schools that we have here in town? That's a hard pill to swallow from somebody that doesn't have children, but that really is something that should be considered. The last thing is, I'm very thankful for where I live. I'm very thankful every single day for the property that I live in. It's getting expensive. I look elsewhere. The mill rate in other towns, I don't know if you've looked it up recently, it's really eye-opening. Greenwich, New Canaan, Darien, you're looking at a 15% mill rate. Anyway, feed the beast, and the beast keeps eating. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forbes, Christopher Weivel, I think, and then Stephen Sack.
This is Chris Weibel. I submitted a comment through email earlier, and you already responded. So
Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, Stephen Sack and then Beth Willett.
Thank you for tonight. My name is Steve Sack. I live on Westwood Road. I'm also a commissioner on the Sustainable West Hartford Commission, also in this town. So I see some stuff that goes on around here a little bit. And, you know, we're in a shortfall, and we're not being financially responsible here in this town. The state has stopped funding some programs. The federal government's maybe not stopped funding some programs. So we need to stop. We can't just keep spending and spending and spending. You know, without getting into too much detail of the school boards, yeah, the special education is out of hand, and nothing's been done about it besides, you know, maybe we need to look at some things. But I mean, over $100,000 per kid for special education. I go to Yale for 65 grand. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. And, you know, we're not being proactive in cutting those costs. Talking about, but nothing proactive. You know, we've hired a lot. There's so much middle management in the school and in the town hall that is a complete waste of tax dollars here. Managers have managers have managers. It needs to go. You need to cut back, get rid of stuff. You know, we have DEI and a staff in the school and in the town. Okay, we don't need this stuff anymore. It's got to, we have to cut back. You're not cutting back employees, which then add to expenses going on. You know, we don't have the money here without going after the townspeople. You know, looking at your capital improvement program, the outstanding debt is going to keep going up. When is this going to stop? Everybody's going to go bankrupt, but the town just keeps spending where normal big people can't do that. You know, looking at some of these capital projects, Elmwood community building, you want $5 million to hire somebody to oversee the project? You know what? We don't have the money. Stop it. Put it on hold, let it rest. All these special projects need to be stopped because we don't have the money. I don't know what it's going to take for everybody here to understand that. Stop spending the money. You don't have it. You know, I look at some of these things, you know, street resurfacing, $3 million, 20 years, 30 years life. Yeah, a street will have a 20 or 30 year life, but once you repave it, and then the next year, the utilities come and dig them up and cut holes in them, now you're down to a 10-year lifespan. And we've been paying that on our backs forever in this town. We're the laughing stock of the entire area of our roads in town. No other town has such horrible roads but West Hartford. And why you guys won't fix it when private businesses are allowed to tear up our roads and not fix them properly, the taxpayers keep paying that bill. You know.
Mr. Sack, the
Yep.
bell went off, so just wind up. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that just came out to me, like New Park Avenue Complete Street Project. I've been against that from day one. You're gonna try traffic calming, go down. You know what, we don't have the money. Just simply repave it and be done. Let it be. There's no need to spend $5 million to do that. Another $18 million for air conditioning in the schools. Another $875,000 for new tennis courts at Fern Park. Well, you just put new ones in a hall and Concord. People can use those. We don't need the best of the best of the best. That's what West Hartford has. Maybe things need to change a little bit. Too much.
Thank you, Mr. Sack.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Beth Willett, and then Steve Fledge or Fleege.
I just want to start this evening by thanking all the members of the council. I know you're here on serving us, and I want to appreciate that and acknowledge that fact. When I saw the budget, I was gravely concerned about it. Me and my husband have been concerned about the budget. For the last several years, my husband has actually spoken at several of the meetings. And I started looking around, and I looked at the town address that Sherry Cantor did. And I saw the grand list grew by $8 million with a total net of $7.2 billion. And I said, where can all of our money be going? We keep adding all these new developments, and we keep getting sold as the town people. We're adding new developments, and our taxes are going to either stabilize or, maybe decrease. And that hasn't happened, and that continues to not happen. And I think that's a grave concern. I think everyone in this room has said that. My other thing that I noticed was we talked about affordable housing. Affordable housing for who? Taxes at $13,000 when your average sales price of a house here is $450. That's a lot of money. That's not affordable. So it's affordable for a rental, but not for the people that you're basing your taxes on. That's not a good sign. Jerry Cantor specifically talked about businesses choosing a community based on long-term financial health, and that includes everything from property taxes. Well, our property taxes are not creating financial health. You have to look around the state at other towns that have done high mill rates. New Haven, what happened when they did high mill rates? The town became a ghost town, relied on nonprofits such as Yale, and those weren't taxable. We don't want that to happen here. We really have to be budget conscious, and we have to make an initiative to be budget conscious. We also should think about how these taxes become an invisible barrier to this town. Invisible barrier to the first-time homebuyers, to minorities, to seniors and their ability to stay in this town. That's a huge barrier these are causing, and we need to address that. It's a concern. Whether we consider it a concern or not, it should be one of the top concerns. My last comment is I looked at the average mill rate in the state of Connecticut, $28.93 versus our proposal rate of 42 or 45. That's a huge difference. And you really all need to look at yourselves and address these concerns. I know it's hard. And I looked at the budget and I said, I couldn't figure out where to make a suggestion to cut. But we have to, and we have to make this an initiative. And if we don't, there's gonna be concerns. You're gonna have taxpayers leaving, you're gonna have businesses raising taxes, and you're gonna have lots of lack of growth in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willett. Mr. Fleet? You're good. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that did not sign up that would like to speak? Okay, come on up, your name and address for the record, and 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Council, for everything you do. Ann Donovan, 50 Leonard Road, West Hartford. Michelle, I totally back you. You said it so eloquently. I had spoken with you about this. Approaching retirement age, living in this town is a huge concern. Our kids went through the school. I feel like people our age and older have made this town what it is. And I think we're being forgotten with the increase. I'm not getting a 7% increase either. No, I know. So that is a big concern. And when you said 25% of the population, that's a lot. That's a lot. So please take that into consideration, among other things. when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. All right, anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming and speaking, and we are happy to have conversations. Again, we don't do a back and forth here, but, and we can, again, these are difficult, very, very difficult decisions that we have to make ahead of us. So appreciate your input. We do have a public hearing at 6:30 that we would have delayed if comment had continued, but we are going to get started our Special Services District meeting in 5 minutes. Thank you. So, I have to formally close. Without objection, motion to adjourn. Any objection? All right, we are now adjourned. Can you give this to Leon? Thank you.
It's a successful day.
It is now 6:30. So we will begin our Special Services District public hearing. This is the proposed budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 as proposed by the district manager in accordance with the requirements of West Hartford Code of Ordinances 161-28. Roll call, Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Counselor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Counselor Cortez.
Here.
Counselor Fay.
Present.
Counselor McGinnis.
Present.
Counselor Poland.
Here.
Counselor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Present.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
Here.
Commissioner Spivak. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Basnese. Commissioner Suffian.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Mr. Davidoff, Mr. Clerk, have you received any written comments?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I have two people that I think were on the other sheet, so there's nobody signed up to speak to the Special Services District public hearing on the budget. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the Special Services District? Okay, I don't hear any or see any. We will give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone steps in, and if not, we will close the public hearing. Okay, well, I don't see anybody coming in, and once we close, but they can't come in, but I don't expect that there will be comments. So without objection, motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there any objection? Okay, the public hearing is now adjourned. And we will begin the public hearing for the ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement safety devices at 7. Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, so I've always been intrigued, I miss my phone. Public safety is a favorite part of this job, fire and police, and, yeah. And I'm gonna go, look, the rest of the group is right there. They're all over the place.
Okay, let's see, my glasses are my. We are now at 7 p.m. I am calling to order the ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement safety vehicles. We'll begin with roll call, Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Counselor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Counselor Cortez.
Here.
Counselor Fay.
Present.
Counselor McGinnis.
Present.
Counselor Poland.
Here.
Counselor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Here.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Okay. Mr. Ledwith, we are going to go to you to kick off the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Town Council. For the record, Rick Ledwith, Town Manager. With me this evening is our one of our engineers, Parker Sorensen, Director of Community Development, Dwayne Martin, and Assistant Chief Tara, with Assistant Chief Rickabon in the background in case he needs to bail Assistant Chief Tara out. So tonight we are presenting a proposed ordinance that would authorize the use of automatic traffic enforcement devices in designated areas of our community. The primary goal of this ordinance is to support safer roadways in West Hartford. Across our community, we continue to see concerning trends. High speed and red light violations are creating dangerous conditions for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. These behaviors put lives at risk and compromise the safety of our streets. Automatic enforcement, such as speed cameras and red light cameras, act as deterrents to dangerous driving behaviors that we know contribute to serious and fatal injuries. This ordinance provides the legal framework to deploy such devices strategically in school zones, pedestrian zones, and areas that we know are heightened traffic risks. The ordinance directly supports our town's Vision Zero goals. a commitment to eliminate all traffic-related fatalities and serious injuries. Automatic enforcement is a proven strategy that encourages safer driving behavior by holding drivers accountable in a fair and consistent way. These devices don't just reduce violations, they help us build a lasting culture of safety throughout our town. By reinforcing safe habits and consistent expectations, this ordinance helps shift the mindset on our streets, making safety the norm, not the exception. Studies from cities around the country show that automated enforcement reduces crashes, particularly the most severe ones. In fact, studies show a 40% reduction in fatal and serious crashes. These results show us what is possible when technology is used thoughtfully and strategically. It is important to know that this technology supplements, not replaces our police officers. As we've heard our chief say often, this is a force multiplier for our community, allowing us to deploy our enforcement efforts to areas not covered by technology. Under the proposed ordinance, a sworn officer or authorized town employee will review and approve recorded images. A first violation carries a fine of $50 and subsequent violations of $75. Ordinance will allow us to charge a processing fee not to exceed $15, and vehicle owners may appeal the fine within 10 days of receiving the citation. The ordinance will apply to two types of violations: exceeding the speed limit by 10 miles per hour or more, or failing to stop at a steady red traffic signal. Our plan will include a 30-day grace period when it is first implemented, which will give the public time to adjust and allow us to provide widespread education. A little more background on the violations, and similar to parking tickets, citations are issued to the owner of the motor vehicle, not the driver. And secondly, the citations are not a moving violation and therefore not reflected in their driving record. Anyone who receives a citation may appeal through an administrative hearing process. Defenses may include operator was driving an emergency vehicle, traffic signal was inoperative, violation was necessary to comply with law enforcement officer, violation was necessary to allow passage of emergency vehicle, violation took place during a period of time which motor vehicle had been reported stolen, or the automatic traffic enforcement safety device was not in compliance with calibration checks. Funds collected from fines will be reinvested directly into the community. Specifically, they will continue to support our Vision Zero efforts through transportation safety changes, mobility improvements, and infrastructure engineering enhancements. This ensures that any revenue generated is aligned with our Vision Zero and public safety goals. The ordinance also includes strong privacy safeguards. No personally identifiable information will be stored or shared unless it is necessary for charging, collection, or enforcement purposes. Our focus is 100% on safety, not surveillance. In summary, this ordinance is not just about enforcement, it is about helping us build a lasting culture of safety where all residents feel protected and safe driving is the community standard. If adopted, next steps include developing an automated traffic safety device plan, which will include 2 separate forms of public outreach. We would then bring this plan to our Community Planning and Economic Development Committee, followed by the Town Council for approval. Following that approval, we would submit the plan to the Connecticut Department of Transportation for their approval. And our plan must also, once we receive approval from Connecticut's Department of Transportation, we also have to send it to the Federal Highway Administration for their approval. Both our speed enforcement program and our red light program are we received federal grants, Safe Streets for All grants for both of those programs, so we have the extra layer of going to the Federal Highway Administration for their approval. So thank you for your time and attention and commitment to safety in our community. And at this point, through you, Madam Mayor, can turn it back to the council for questions. I don't know if you want to go to the public first for comments or.
Thank you. I think we will go to the public first, and then we can answer all the questions. Mr. Davidoff, Mr. Clerk, have you received any written comments on this?
No written comments.
Thank you.
The council meeting, I'm just not sure if they meant to sign up for the ordinance hearing.
Oh, okay. All right. I have a few people signed up, but it was for the council meeting. Maybe it was regarding either this hearing or our previous hearing. So I don't know. So if any of these are not, just give me a wave. First is Lauren, CR 97 Vera Street. No. Okay, Stephen Sack. I know he spoke at the last meeting, so I don't see him. And Allison McConnell. Okay, come on up. State your name and address for the record in 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. I'm Allie McConnell, 31 Gillette. I just want to thank everyone for opening this to the public and everyone who was involved. It's a very thoughtful ordinance. I do have a couple of issues and questions. I will just note, on my way here, I passed through at least 6 cameras that I noticed. Starting at my very back door, there's an undisclosed camera installed by my landlord. So there's a lot of cameras in 1 mile. Just noting that these types of, particularly like third-party surveillance software is notoriously vulnerable to hacking. So while, there is some thoughtful language in the ordinance that I noted, it is kind of boilerplate. I'm interested in knowing, like really drilling down, how long will the data be stored? Is it recording all traffic and then like sort of ex post facto being checked for violations, or is it sort of real time? That's not specified, and I think that's really important because everyone who passes through will have identifiable information recorded if not, and then stored for how long. And then just noting from a social justice standpoint, like across the country, we know that these technologies do have an adverse impact that is disproportionate to poor people and to people of color. And while, again, there is some thoughtful language in here, it is a little bit general. And I would like to see something that is a bit stronger, particularly given the current regime, which is utilizing surveillance to go after people who are not of accord with them. So I'll conclude there. Again, it is very thoughtful. I do appreciate it. I live, in that corner of like Oakwood and Park, which is like a freeway. It is very dangerous. There are at least 2 memorials within walking distance. I pass by them on my daily walk right there. So this is very needed. I would also rather see us exhaust the other tactics available to us before resorting to just kind of hammering on surveillance. I would like to see a lot more behavioral messaging, some regionalization of the responsibility here. I suspect a lot of the speeders are not from our communities. So how do we address that with a town ordinance? And I think that concludes my remarks. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. Appreciate it. All right. Anybody else? Okay, I don't see anybody. All right. Now we can open it up to the council. we've done a little introduction in community planning on this, and I mean, talking about, obviously, it's going to go back to community planning, so I don't know, Ms. McGinnis, if you want to start with any question.
The only question that I had, so the state only allows for 2 levels of fees, is that correct? The 50 and the 75? So if you were a repeat offender that ended up having 20 tickets a year, you would only be, there's no level, they don't allow for any levels higher than that?
Correct, yep. It's
Okay.
$50 and then $75 for each subsequent violation.
Okay.
These programs do seem to, in other parts of the country, do deter repeat offenders, but you're right, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. Ms. Blanks?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question similar, well, one of my questions, similar to Councilor McGinnis on that point. And I'm bringing this up because I won't call out any names, but maybe some relatives. Going through certain areas of where they reside, can you pick up more than one violation in the same time period with these devices?
Yeah, we talked through this particular scenario. So you're coming into town and you hit one camera, and then further down the road you hit another one, and then you certainly could hit multiple cameras. It would be the first violation would be 50, each one after that would be 75.
Thank you. And then, Rick, when you were speaking of the need for approval from DOT and Federal Highway Administration, so given that you would meet all those criterias, when would the expected time frame be in terms of when we could implement and roll it out?
So we will, we're in the process now of hiring a consultant. We should have someone on board within the next couple of weeks, actually by the end of April. And we will take the adopted ordinance and begin crafting our plan. We expect to hold 2 public meetings over the summer. The first meeting will be an introduction of what we're doing, and then seeking public input in terms of people may have ideas of where good spots for these cameras would be, et cetera. Then we would draft the plan, bring that drafted plan back to a public meeting as well. And our plan would be to have it before Community Planning and Economic Development at the meeting in September, and then at the council meeting, the second council meeting in September. And then we send it off to DOT for their approval. That we're being told, I think there's one plan in the state that's been approved. There's 2 more in front of DOT right now. We've been told they will turn these around in 7 to 10 days. Hopefully that would be a timeline that we would expect to hopefully be able to adhere to. And then we'd send it off to Federal Highway Administration, and they've essentially said the same thing, 7 to 10 to 14 days. So it'll be later in the fall before we have formal approval on everything, and we can begin, identifying where, well, we'll, through the drafting of the plan, we'll identify where we're putting the spots, but then start to do the outreach in terms of, okay, the plan's coming, here's the date. There is the 30-day grace period that we would have. So once the cameras are live, we don't start the violation process for 30 days. I believe we would have a warning system set up for those first 30 days. And then, so yeah, it's going to be several months.
A couple more questions through you, Madam Mayor. How will the data be managed and evaluated once we begin to have it implemented and start collecting? Can you?
So we'll hire a vendor that will assist us with the data collection. And there are state statutes that we have to adhere to in terms of how long we can hold that data. The data, to the speaker's earlier point, can only be held, I believe, we're still kind of determining exactly what's happening with the law that, or the statute that we've read and interpreting it as best we can. It'll be part of our plan. I don't think we have that exact information right now in terms of how long we hold the data and.
One more.
It is 30 days? Yeah, okay.
Oh.
So it is 30 days after the citation is issued. We're able to hold it for.
Final question through you, Madam Mayor. So for folks who received the violations and maybe they got 50 and 75 and now it's accumulating, and if they don't pay, what happens? Like, are they unable to register their car, or what are some other kind?
So we will work through that with our, I'm looking for our deputy corporation counsel. Do you guys recall what that, we had that conversation about,
Through you, Madam Mayor. So we are discussing the fact that there are other things that we can look at within the town, because either town tickets that are being issued, like town parking tickets. So there might be other things that the council might want to consider to implement. But remember also, if they want to fight it, they need to come before the town for an appeal as well. So there's many other little things that we need to look at to address that. Considerations, if you want them to re-register their car, that's within your authority. So there are many other things, possibly.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Just to follow up on that question, so that will be incorporated into the plan, those ultimate consequences or avenues for?
I suppose we could build it into the plan, but I think we just can follow our normal ordinances in terms of steps we can take when someone doesn't, pay their, citations, for example, parking tickets. Yeah, I just don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head.
Madam Mayor, my expectation is that it would follow the same process that we use for parking citations, which is similar. If we want to pause on this for a moment, though, Deputy Corporation Counsel Verano is our office's foremost expert on the citation process, and here she appears.
Ms. Blanks, would you like to repeat the question?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, and through you, Deputy Corp Counsel Verano. My question was, with motorists that are, let's say, habitual violators, and now they've accumulated a number of tickets, so they're up to their 50 and multiple 75, and they still haven't paid. What would be the consequence? And I had throughout the example of not being able to register your car, but are there other penalties that we've thought about issuing or considered?
So we're assuming that the driver did not appeal the citation and therefore is liable for however many 15 or 20 citations. So if the driver doesn't appeal the citation, then it goes to a hearing officer who will enter a judgment on the particular violation. And then the goes to a collection agency. And if there's no payment on a collection agency, at some point, we will go to the Superior Court, and there is a procedure by which we can obtain a judgment by enforcing a municipal violation. Once we get a court judgment, the driver does have the ability to go to the Superior Court and object to that as well. Usually, they don't really win at that point, and a judgment enters, and then we have the ability to file a lien against the individual's property. The lien is good for 22 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is that different than our parking tickets? That is a different process, because the parking tickets has late fees, doesn't it? And then?
Well, the hearing process is the same. So we currently have a hearing process in place for parking tickets, but all other municipal violations as well. So zoning violations, health district violations, they all go through the same hearing process. The parking tickets are a little bit different because they do get reported. So the failure to pay your parking ticket does present a problem for trying to register your car, but all of the other municipal violations do not have a similar impact.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to Mr. Zananis, then Mr. Walters.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You, Rick, you talked about summer communications and for putting this forward. I'm just concerned, a lot of people travel, are on vacations in the summer, just, we've heard in the past, even on like recycling, oh, I didn't know about that, didn't know about this. I think that communication process has to be robust through social media and other avenues if we're going to do it in the summer because of even our meetings, we only have one a month because our schedules are so busy and we're out of town. So I just want to kind of reiterate if that's your process. And then in the presentation for an appeal on an emergency vehicle, that kind of struck me as odd because in the process you talked about that a sworn officer or some employee would be right there. But if you go back a couple more, a sworn officer or authorized town employee will review and approve the record images before issuing citation. So if she sees a fire truck coming through, why is that statement even on there in that bullet statement? That sworn officer or authorized town employee should say, oh, that's an emergency vehicle, I am not issuing a ticket. So it's kind of counterintuitive of why that other bullet's up there on an emergency vehicle. That's more of an automated piece than it would be an appeal or a process going through a sworn officer. So I'm just confused on that.
Through you, Madam Mayor. We have various vehicles that are not marked, responding to serious calls and what have you. An employee from the vendor may not know those cars, but that's why we have the backup of having a member of the police department also involved. They'll pick them out right off the bat.
Okay. So it's a vendor, not an employee in our police station here, right? And the sworn officer is part of the vendor, not of our own town?
It's a combination. The vendor will be involved, and then we have a second person assigned under the ordinance, and it's required under statute as well, to review that with them. It's a team.
Okay.
And they might say, hey, you know what, that's an undercover detective going to a robbery or something like that.
Okay,
That's what
fair
it's-
enough, thank you. And then, we all ridden around town, and I kind of remember when some of these cameras, I think they went up. Are those the ones we're talking about, the ones that are up there? Are these going to be new ones? And what are those cameras doing? How they differ?
So we have several camera systems set up around town. The chief can certainly get into some of them just at a high level. We have a flock camera system that's up there, and then we're starting to implement camera systems at certain intersections around town that we utilize for public safety purposes. So these will actually not be these will be cameras on the side of the road that will take a snapshot. If you're going 10 miles over the speed limit, it'll take a picture of your license plate, and it's a recorded image of your car. That's what our police department and staff will be looking at when they're issuing the citation. So it's not an actual camera that's recording every car that's moving through. It's taking a picture of the license plate of the offending vehicle.
So it's electronically activated either through speed or by the light going red?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And then, we talked about a consultant, vendor, hearing officer, court, appeal. What's the return on investment? And if this is supposed to eliminate a lot of speeding and a lot of red light tickets, are our costs going to overrun us on this, and we wouldn't have a return on investment? And now it's, I don't want to say an unfunded mandate, but we just got done with several of our constituents talking about how high our taxes are, and this might just be another one of those things that our taxes are higher because we know we're a safer town.
So the statute, good question, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Zdanowitz. So the statute does allow us to implement up to a $15 per ticket processing fee, and we could utilize that fee to pay for the vendor that's implementing the camera system. We also keep the citation, the fees. So the $50 or the $75 per ticket is revenue that goes directly to the town. Now a speeding ticket goes to the state. We get a small percentage of that speeding ticket sent back to us as an administrative fee, but 100% of the funds will come back to us, to the town. We envision utilizing those funds for continuing our vision work, Vision Zero work around town, implementing, traffic enhancements and safety enhancements townwide, and then using that processing fee to pay the vendor. So we don't envision an impact on the general fund. We envision a, surplus, at least initially. And then, like I said, we want to build a culture of safety, and a couple of years from now, no one's getting a speeding ticket and red light ticket, and that'll be great.
Thank you. And I think we need to track this because I've been in a lot of meetings and we've all been guilty of this, but, oh, it's been like that for 20 years. We haven't done anything about it. Oh, it's been like that for 17 years. So if we become a safer town, right, and these speed enforcements, and it's working like, advertised, but we're still paying the vendors, the consultants and the hearing officers and the court judgments for the smaller funds, it might be a burden on our taxpayers. So we need to keep, I don't want to have a council that looks like us 20 years from now saying, oh my God, we're spending $1 million on red light traffics and we're not taking any money in. So I think we need to have in that process some sort of delineation of where we are with funding and such, and hopefully it becomes a safer thing. So, and then back to what some counselors asked is that, like the registration of the car, parking, taxes, if they haven't paid taxes on their car, is that all part of that process? And are we going to ding them for that, even if they get the first ticket, but yet they haven't paid taxes on their car in a year? Does that a red flag, or is this like a parking ticket and it's just a fee? So is there anything, say they do pay on time, is there any liability there because they didn't pay their taxes either?
Through this process, no, no. But certainly we always keep in touch with the folks that owe us taxes. Could be a little more aggressive in the way I say that, but.
Mr. Dodge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And by virtue of the statute that enabled us to adopt this, it is very prescriptive and restrictive in terms of how the information that's collected from these devices can be used. It can only be used for enforcement of the traffic violation here. So the answer is no, we couldn't use personally identifiable information that was collected to, say, check if you had tax liens or something like that. It could only be used for enforcement of the ordinance.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Zdanowitz. Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I have actually a few questions. One, going back to the enforcement and going down the road, would we have to adjust another ordinance to include? So if we have, what I wrote is, would we need to modify existing ordinance to include these violations? So it was described to us how this system would work, but it would be folded into another, same way we do another, or do we have to modify that ordinance that called for that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the answer is no. We would use our existing citation process for typical violation or typical citations in order to enforce this ordinance. That's general applicability, which would include violations that were caught, just happen to be caught through the use of a traffic safety enforcement device.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I had is, kind of piggybacking on something that Councilor Zdanowitz had mentioned, the education period. What I wrote actually was why a 30-day grace period? Why would we tell everybody that we're going to start this 30 days from now, and you're free to drive as fast as you want through whatever red light you want? And why wouldn't we want to start that education piece as soon as possible, as soon as we have a plan described and everything is set, as to perhaps even ready to go to the state? Why wouldn't we just say that's when we start our education piece, when we get it back 30 days from now, that's when?
So, through you, Madam Mayor, so the 30-day grace period is a state statute requirement. So we're required, any town implementing this plan is required to implement a 30-day grace period as part of this program. Certainly, the public outreach, this meeting is a good start to, should the council adopt this resolution, is a good start to that education process that we can continue as we move through the summer, and then we have those public outreach meetings, and then once we're ready to roll the plan out, we have to notify everyone that the plan is live on that particular date. We also have to notify everyone where the cameras will be located. That's part of the state requirement as well. We have to go as far as to notify ways as to where these cameras will be located. So it'll be
no secret anyways.
It won't be a secret.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Now, the camera will be taking pictures, and I'm sorry if this was said, but the camera will be taking pictures of the license plate only? What exactly, how much will be in the frame? And the reason I ask that is, will it be able to actually identify the person driving the vehicle?
It would not. So it's just a picture. Mr. Martin, I think, received one of these tickets in a neighboring state and told me about the
Way to call him out.
Just kidding, just kidding. It is a snapshot of we don't know who's driving, and that's why the ticket goes to the owner, not the driver.
Okay, it
And
occurred
it
to
can't
me.
be used for any other reason other than issuing that ticket. So the police department can't use it because something else happened in the neighborhood and they want to, like I said, it doesn't take a picture of every car that goes by. It's just the
Just the
offending vehicle.
violations.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor. So I just want to be clear on the cameras are used for, is it one camera can do the speeding and running under red light, or is that two separate things? I know we've discussed speed enforcement cameras, and we've also discussed red light cameras as well.
So through you, Madam Mayor, good question. So Councilor Cortez, we will initially roll out a speed enforcement program, safety program first, and that will be 15 cameras set up around town in areas that we know are high-risk areas, including as well as a school zone and pedestrian zone. The red light cameras will be set up at red lights. So, and yeah, we will not have a speed camera and a red light camera in the same intersection. The speed cameras will most likely be set up in, somewhere along Albany Avenue. Oh, it's a state road, we would need approval for that, but just to use that as an example, not, at the intersection.
All right. Thank you. And then for me, it's just comment, a comment. I always speak out against this. I think, we're not unique in Connecticut, but, we're a pretty big, sizable town, a lot of roads in here. We do share a lot of roads with the state of Connecticut. And I know DOT is not as responsive as we are, and so the issues that we have are not just on our roads, but our state roads that we don't have control. And as someone stated before, it's like, it's people out of our community, who increase it, but I disagree. It's people in our community as well. So I've always discussed about right-sizing government, and, that doesn't mean cut. Everybody always assume, like, where do you cut? And I think that, once we right-size the police department, that's how you address these issues, not by relying on a camera, right, or relying on an outside vendor, something that costs money. But if we were to right-size the police department at a true traffic division, that's their one job. They cannot be pulled for other stuff other than traffic, like you do in other communities. I mean, we are growing, and there's going to be that need. And I think that if we right-size certain departments, you can address these issues and be as effective. And once there's not a need, reduce that team. And we ask a lot of our PD with what they have, and they do an amazing job. And I think that we should look at doing that, right sizing that department so we have a true traffic enforcement division, like we used to do at some point. I've always stated before, I used to be, when I didn't live in West Hartford, I'm like, oh man, I got to go through West Hartford. And, you had that cop on Troutbrook Drive that you had to worry about all the time, and it slowed people down. I don't see it enough. I know it's out there. I see our guys out there. I just don't see it enough. And, I just every time I have an opportunity, I'm going to say how, concerned I am the direction we're going and going to this whole camera state. I see it in the schools, and not to see it in the community is kind of scary. I'd rather see a person in real time address these issues than a camera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Ms. Pullen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of questions. One is, I assume the cameras can take pictures of multiple lanes at the same time. So I'm thinking specifically of like the intersection of Troutbrook and Farmington where, multiple cars next to each other are probably going to go through that red light on any given time. And the camera can capture both of those cars doing that, right? It's not just one or the other. Okay. Thank you. And then I just, we've talked about this. I just want to clarify. So let's say a license plate is flagged, a photo was taken, the car was speeding or did go through a red light, and it turns out that the car was stolen. So when the officer is at the police station reviewing the photos, it turns out, oh, we've been looking for this car because it was stolen, or we've been looking for the owner of this car for some other unrelated reason. And I think what I'm hearing, and I just want to be as 100% clear as possible for the public, is too bad. We cannot use that photo to help locate that owner or recover that car. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Can only be used, unless you want to clarify me on that, yeah. So, can only be used for the enforcement of this program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen. That is a good question. Okay. Ms. Fay.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of questions. I have some concerns about the civil liberty aspect of this as well. More surveillance coming our way. But we do have to address something with our roads. They are dangerous, and it's probably now one of the top complaints we get about traffic and traffic violations. So we do need a solution, and I do appreciate all the work the police officers and do, and they can't be everywhere all at once. I understand that. Do we have a goal of how many sites we intend? I actually have a couple questions that we intend to implement. Is there a number of sites that we have in mind?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so this is a pilot program that we're implementing, so we can implement up to 15 cameras. Each camera could look in both directions. So it could be, am I correct on that one? 15.
Dwayne Martin, Director of Community Development, through you, Madam Mayor, to add to Manager Ledowitz' comments. We have up to 15 locations that we are allowed to install the speed management cameras, but it's important to denote the distinction between locations and cameras. So you will have 15 locations. That will mean you'll need at least 30 cameras in total.
Do we have a set criteria of how we'll establish the particular locations, volume or accidents or some other metric of how we're going to choose those?
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Fay. Yes, so with regards to the speed management program, that's the reason we're hiring a consultant, is to do all the data analysis that we need to get a plan approved by the state and through our grant with the Federal Highway Administration. So they're going to look at a lot of data, meet with town staff, and come up with a plan based upon that data where to put the speed management cameras. Red light running is a little bit different. That's more specific to safety and crashes and issues that have arisen through the years with the help of our police department. So it's a little bit different data than speed management. But similarly, there'll be data driven behind where these cameras would be located.
And then I think you guys said that, would we be first in Connecticut to, no, so there's another, could you tell me the other location that has these cameras and what kind of experience they've had? And I guess folding into that, as a pilot, do we have criteria that we would deem this is not successful and we would actually suspend the program? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so the town of Washington has an approved plan, but it was just approved recently, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't have any information to glean from that plan. And then Stamford and New Haven have submitted plans to the state. But there's one working plan in the state right now. And then the question in terms of, we, as a pilot program, we have to compile data, report back to, I think both the state and the federal government, the results of this program. And then I do believe this plan will work and will make our streets safer. But certainly we will look at the data and see how that data supports that.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to address is we need to do something. I understand that the results are poor. We need to do something. And I just want to make sure that with these programs, we do have criteria of when we would deem this is not working, or we need to pull it. We need to take it down. And I think that would give a comfort level to residents who share concerns about civil liberties and more monitoring. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Any other questions? Okay, I do have a couple, most of mine were, my questions were asked. The red light cameras, is there a number on that, or locations, for that specified in state statute, or?
Through the grant program, I know the speed was clearly identified in terms of the number of locations we could put it, but how about the red light? Parker?
Parker Sorensen, Engineering Division, through you, Madam Mayor. So I think just talking, trying to remember the grant application, we were in the vicinity of 5 intersections, if I remember, not 15 for the red light running cameras.
And that is because of the grant application, right? If
there's no restriction at from state law in terms of the total number of red light running cameras.
Thank you. And New Haven and Stamford did not have federal grant money, so their process is going to go faster than ours. So they will be up, and that will be helpful. Just to Mr. Zdanowicz's question on the consultant. The consultant we are using for the red light, for the speed cameras, speed enforcement cameras, would we then, once those are implemented, would that consultant then be done consulting and we would no longer have that, or is that an ongoing, do you know?
So through, Madam Mayor, not through you, but to you. So we are utilizing the grant to hire the consultant. And there's no budget impact in us rolling this program out. It's completely funded by the grant. And at some point, the grant will go away. We do believe that the fines will, manage the cost of the program, and there wouldn't be an impact on taxpayers as we move forward. In terms of that second question, do you guys?
Yeah, no, I think it was all kind of combined. I think that the consultant is in the initial phase of the.
After.
And ultimately, it would not be necessary for that consultant because the cameras are.
Correct, yeah, so the consultant that we're bringing on board in the next few weeks is only for the plan itself, which will ultimately be submitted for approval. Once that's their job to get it through the finish line of state approval. Once that's done, we can go out for a camera vendor out to bid for that. So that would kind of terminate their services at that point.
Okay, and just to clarify, the consultant fee is included in the grant application. That $15 processing would be used for maybe other administrative costs, right?
Correct. We would use that to pay the camera vendor. Yeah.
Right, okay. I just wanted to, maybe you can just do a very brief summary of the cameras that exist and what, I mean, we did mention it, but just sort of how they're used. I mean, kind of to add on to Ms. Pullen's point about a stolen car and how this limited use is truly for speed enforcement. But we do use cameras for other things.
To you, Madam Mayor. We have 33, is it? 33 other cameras to find missing people, wanted people, stolen vehicles, people who are wanted for shootings. Clearly, we have highways, people come from different jurisdictions and come through. That's how we get a lot of them. These cameras will be independent of those. These are similar to if you've driven on the tolls, you get that little envelope in the mail with a picture of your car with a license plate. You can't even see who's driving. And unfortunately, if you have a lot of kids, you don't know which kid is driving your car. So you're the registered owner, you'll get the ticket from us just for that violation. So again, we have other cameras for those other purposes, and they're actually very good at locating missing people, wanted people, you name it.
And could you just talk about the storage, the personal, in the storage on those cameras? Is that something that we keep for, on the other cameras, not the speed enforcement cameras?
Yeah, those other cameras, of course, we have retention periods on those, just like we would with the state library. So we keep those based on whatever it is, and then they go away. And we've had situations where we have, say for example, we have a robbery or a shooting or something like that. We try to go back as far as we can, and sometimes it's not there for us. You know, we might go back 30 days, maybe 60 days, and then it's gone. So we have to do the old-fashioned police work, basically, and get a hold of the other jurisdictions to see if they have that vehicle that we're looking for. So we're limited too.
Thank you. I think that clarifies some of the concern. We did get an email from, we did get some feedback. I received it. I guess I should have sent it to you because it was regarding this. But the ped bike did have some questions on a definition on the device. The Corporation Counsel looked at it. The answer is we're consistent with state statute, and that's why the terminology is the way it is. There was a question about use of funds. Also, the town manager mentioned that the use of funds would be primarily to Vision Zero, but they wouldn't be limited to that, and especially if we are maybe doing some things in coordination with Vision Zero and something that might be helpful in Vision Zero, but might be a reconstruction of a street, or I don't know. But could you just expand on that a little bit, on how that would be?
So our focus will be completely on, at least initially, on supplementing all of our Vision Zero efforts, but tying a specific term to the ordinance and a use to the ordinance. Essentially, we followed the state guidelines and the state verbiage, but if we received a $12 million Safe Streets for All grant for Vision Zero, and then we were getting this revenue in, we could use this revenue for some other, infrastructure project, not necessarily tied directly to Vision Zero, but gives us a little more flexibility in the event that we needed it. But for right now, foreseeable future, our focus for the next 9 years is getting to zero deaths and zero serious injuries as a result of traffic crashes. So that's where our focus will be.
Thank you. And I do think there was also a question on how data can be used. I think that's clear. It's also very spelled out in state statute as well. And to Mr. Zdanowicz's point, programs that exist for, especially newer programs, it probably is helpful to look at every 5 years and to track it on a unique line item would be, I think, a helpful exercise for us as it would be for other communities that are interested, because we have been on panels and discussions with many communities that are interested to see our experience.
Yeah, and it is a pilot program, so we have to maintain all this data and share this data with both the state and the federal government. So we can continue that process beyond the pilot program. But and we can keep the council updated through finance and administration and I guess community planning as well.
And the pilot period is for?
And public safety, sorry.
Yes, important. And the pilot period is?
2 years, is it? Do you remember?
To you, Madam Mayor, yeah, so the pilot period is 18 months. So at that point, we'll have some reporting to do, not only for the state statute, but for the Federal Highway Administration as we close out that program. And then at that point, we'd anticipate, contracting a vendor just for the 18 months with like an option to extend.
Thank you. And this is this is relatively new statutorily for the state, and a very small town of Washington has been approved, but larger communities than us are in the pipeline. And so I think the state might have some, or need and expect some feedback from us on how, how it works and how the deterrent is working, because that is the goal, right? Not to is to make our roads safer. But I think that will be important. I thought there was a third tier for the speed, for the number, but I guess it's just the 50 and 75. I thought it had gone up to 100, but I must have thought that in some way. I know the state is also looking at those excessive speed, but that was for speed enforcement tickets from our police, correct? Only the over 100 miles per hour?
To you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, they're looking at because we're seeing the extreme speeds, not here, knock on wood, but like on a highway at 150, 200 miles an hour, it's just too dangerous. So they're looking at upping it to make it a more serious violation.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, before you
Yes.
close the public
Thank you,
hearing,
Mr.
I'd
Deputy.
like to correct the answer I gave you. Have I received any written comments? Late today, I did receive an email forwarded from Mr. Ledwith that you had provided him from Ed Pollock, the chair of the West Hartford Ped and Bicycle Commission, which was dated March 27th. And I think those are the concerns that you illustrated. So I just want to make sure the record is accurate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Okay. All right. Again, any other comments, questions? Before we close, I want to thank Engineer Parker Sorensen, who has really been such an incredible asset to the town in implementing our Vision Zero plan and so much moving forward. So Parker, thank you. You're a real leader, and we're really lucky to have you. And Dwayne, who really has done so much work all through the Vision Zero process. Thank you so much. And of course, to our police, our leadership, both chiefs that are here, assistant chiefs that are here, and all of our police that do all the hard work of making sure our streets are safe every day. So thank you all very much. And with that, I'm going to, before I close, I really want to thank Mr. Ledwith too, because none of this would happen without his leadership. So, and with that, I'll close the public hearing. I don't need to make a motion on that. So we are good, and we are well past 7:30, and I know we have some special guests, so we will go right into, yes. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cortez. All right. Where is my agenda for the public, for council? No. All right. All right. As you hand those out, we'll start and get going. I am calling the 7:30 West Hartford Town Council meeting, April 8th, to order. Welcome. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Counselor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Counselor Cortez. Counselor Fay.
Present.
Counselor McGinnis. Present. Counselor Poland.
Here.
Counselor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Present.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. I'm going to go to the podium for a proclamation. Okay, hello, poets. I just wanted to, we have, April is Poetry Month, and a long time ago, almost 20 years ago, I had several poets that approached me, Ginny Connors being, I think, the leader of the group, that said that West Hartford needs a poet laureate. And I didn't know, I was brand new to the council, and I really didn't know anything about the town's situation with poet laureate. I knew we had a state poet laureate, but I didn't know what other towns. I started to look around other towns, and there were no poet laureates in towns. There was very few in Connecticut anyway. So we started our own process, a little bumpy at first, I think, and we named the first poet laureate Maria Sassy. And Maria, I met with her numerous times, and we talked about the importance of poetry and sharing poetry with young people, with our students, and then people of all ages, and the importance of poetry on our culture, our community. And so we have carried it on, and many of the poet laureates, and I all want you to introduce yourselves when you come up, because I'm going to have you all come up. But our current poet laureate is Ben Grossberg, and he is now leaving, and we are naming a new poet laureate, and that's what the proclamation is about. I'm going to have Claire come up first. But I just want to mention Ben Grossberg, who couldn't be here today for health reasons, but Ben has made a remarkable impact as poet laureate on West Hartford. His impressive body of work included award-winning collections such as My Husband Would and Sweet Core Orchard, has garnered critical acclaim and captivated audiences nationwide. Ben currently serves as the Director of Creative Writing and a Professor of English at the University of Hartford, where he passionately guides the next generation of writers. During his term, Ben has engaged audiences with his insightful poetry and workshops. His commitment to fostering a community of writers is evident in his dedication to providing spaces for people to share and explore poetry. Ben has reminded us of the importance of slowing down and reflecting on the world through poetry. He has held numerous workshops, readings, and events inspiring residents of West Hartford to embrace and appreciate the art of writing. Ben's work often navigates major themes with a unique mastery of language. He uses poetry as a medium to explore and express the complexity of human emotions and experiences, resonating with his audience. Reflecting on his journey, he often speaks of poetry's transformative power and its ability to move and displace readers. As he steps down from his role as poet laureate, his legacy will continue to influence and inspire future poets in West Hartford and beyond. I thank Ben and I thank all of our past poet laureates for their adding to the richness of our community and contributing to making West Hartford so special. Now, Claire, if you would come up and join me. Hello. All right. Whereas the town of West Hartford is committed to fostering a vibrant cultural scene and celebrates and promotes the literary arts within the community, and whereas the honorary title of West Hartford Poet Laureate is bestowed upon a poet resident of West Hartford, Claire Rossini, with the goal of promoting the art of poetry and literary writing throughout the community. And whereas Claire Rossini has demonstrated exceptional talent and dedication to the the literary arts, and her poems and essays published in esteemed journals such as the Paris Review, the Kenyon Review, the Aya Review, Poetry, and the Best American Poetry Series. And whereas Claire Rossini's latest poetry collection, Lingo, published by the University of Akron Press, along with her co-edited anthology, The Poetry of Capital, published by the University of Wisconsin Press, underscore her significant contributions to the field of poetry. And whereas Claire Rossini has been recognized for her outstanding work with grants and awards from the state of Connecticut, the Minnesota Arts Board, the Bush Foundation, and the Maxwell Shepherd Foundation, and has been honored with prestigious residencies at MacDowell Colony, Yaddo, is that right? Yeah. And the American Academy in Rome. And whereas Claire Rossini has enriched the academic community for over 4 decades by teaching at the college level, most notably at Trinity College in Hartford for 23 years, and continues to inspire new generations of writers through workshops and conferences. And whereas Claire Rossini, a resident of West Hartford, Connecticut, has exemplified a lifelong dedication to poetry, teaching, and community engagement, and plans to further contribute to the cultural fabric of West Hartford through initiatives connecting poets with the natural world. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council and the residents of West Hartford, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, do hereby recognize and congratulate Claire Rossini as Poet Laureate for the Town of West Hartford, entrusting her to elevate and expand the presence of poetry in the community and beyond. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I think you might have some poetry to share, but I would love for the other poet laureates to come on up and support her while she reads this. There, I saw a typo on this, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Do you want me to take it back and redo it?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
That'd be great. Thank you. Hey, so yeah, part of the thrill of this job is that I'm sharing this position with the company of such other amazing poets, Dennis Barone and Jim Finnegan, who was the second. No, you were second, third. Yeah. Anyway, so wonderful to be in the company of such excellent poets. Thank you. And wonderful people. Yeah, we all kind of know each other. So yeah, I'm just going to say a couple of things. First of all, having sat through that amazing discussion about, now I have a sense of what you guys do. I knew that for a town like this to be thriving as it is and growing and we feel so lucky to live here. My husband and I moved here 25 years ago from Minnesota. And I always sensed that there had to be this infrastructure of discussion and thoughtful leadership, and now you've just exemplified in a small way, just all that goes into it. So thank you for your hard work. So before reading the one poem I'm going to read, I'd just like to say that I do have a focus for my 3 years as laureate, and that is the birds of West Hartford. So I can just see you scratching your head. What's going on here? Well, I'll start by saying there's a really ancient connection between poets and birds going back to ancient Egypt, the Romans, the Greeks, all the way through our tradition. In metaphor and iconography, birds and poets have been connected. And I think it's because, birds sing and poets sing, right, on the page and when they say their words. But I have a more particular and pressing reason for focusing on this. As you may know, birds, like many species, are suffering right now. And the birds in Connecticut we've lost about a third of our population. And I can't, fix that, obviously, but one thing I thought I could do is bring people's attention to it through poetry. So I'm hoping this won't be the only focus of my laureateship, but I'd like to have workshops with kids where they write poems about birds, and some readings where poets are invited to bring, among other things, a poem or two about birds, and perhaps readings in some of our beautiful parks where poets and birds could congregate. So I'll be thinking about other ways of bringing this kind of passion of mine into my work as laureateship. And if you have any ideas, please let me know. But I just wanted to say that. And finally, I'm going to read a poem that has a bird in it. It's from my first book, and just a couple, maybe 3, 4 things to let you know quickly. There's a reference to a dime store in this poem, and some of you may recognize that word. We now call them dollar stores. Inflation, that's inflation. But this poem is written at a time when there were still dime stores around. It's set in New York City, where I lived as a graduate student in the neighborhood of Columbia University. And it was a quiet Sunday morning when this happened. And just to remind you, the sound of the mourning dove is that, and we have them around here, is that beautiful sound. Doo, 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 doo. I know you've heard it. And finally, my grandmother was mentioned in the poem. As I said, I'm from Minnesota, and she grew up in a small farming town in southwestern Minnesota, and my mother and I would go visit her there. So this is called A Mourning Dove in New York City. It was first published in the Kenyon Review. Waking, I hear its cryptic trill, and I'm back 20 years in bed at my grandmother's house, on sheets scarred by her mending. Downstairs, the clock chimes. My grandmother's steps begin to trace the choreography of breakfast making. I hear my mother's voice, then her second generation laughter. I slip from the bed. The floor is cold, the stairs down dangerously steep. I waver at the top of them, adrift in the scent of coffee. A renter wakes in that house this morning. The china cups sold. As for the clock, someone has it who cannot translate its hourly lament for the deep aromatic couch, the faint edge of lace doily shining. The cry of the mourning dove rises over a small Midwestern town, over the prairie churning out wheat and flowers, over those sheets wherever they are, their stitches still locked in small, endless embraces, and wakens me from an older sleep, desiring to be at table between 2 large female bodies, watching the morning sun set dime store glasses afire. So that's it. So looking forward. Thank you so much.
Did you get a picture of all of them, or do you want them? Yeah.
Here, I'll grab this. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, wow,
there.
right?
See?
Thank you. Thank you so much,
you.
and I'll get this corrected and sent to you.
Oh,
There's just one little double of a space.
Oh, gosh, no worries. Okay, thanks.
All right.
Of course.
Thank you all. All right, we go to consent, 4A, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move that items 5A through 5C be placed on the consent calendar.
Is there any objection? All right, hearing no objection, the items are placed on consent. Mr. Winograd?
I move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we go down to 6, unfinished business. Mr. Winograd.
It's yours.
I'm sorry. What did I do? Oh, sorry. Okay, before we begin the debate on this item, Councilors Cortez and Winograd sit on the Board of Fellowship Housing and have asked to recuse themselves in order to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest. Those members are recused and will not participate in the debate or vote on this item. So, Ms. Pullen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution authorizing the execution of permanent easements to support the development project at 10-50 Starkle Road.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And West Hartford Fellowship Housing Development Corporation has requested that the town approve 2 non-exclusive permanent easements on the property in favor of Eversource Energy for the perpetual right to construct, maintain, replace, relocate, remove, and rebuild in the easement areas an electric distribution system and other public utilities. It's a fairly standard easement. This easement was reviewed and approved by our Deputy Corporation Counsel, and was also approved unanimously by the Town Plan and Zoning Commission last evening. So through you, Madam Mayor, happy to answer any questions that the council had.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any. We do need to do a roll call on this, so we will start with that. Mr. Davidoff.
Counselor Blanks.
Yes.
Mayor Cantor.
Yes.
Counselor Cortez is absent. Counselor Fay.
Yes.
Counselor McGinnis.
Yes.
Counselor Poland.
Yes.
Counselor Walters.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Winograd is recused. Counselor Zdanowitz.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. Okay, now we go to letter B. Mr. Winograd?
Thank you, I'm back.
Yes.
Move to adopt an ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement safety devices.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This ordinance was the subject of a public hearing earlier this evening. As outlined in the hearing, this ordinance is a proactive step toward supporting safer streets here in West Hartford. The automated enforcement acts as a deterrent to dangerous driving behaviors that we know contribute to accidents, injuries, and fatalities. The ordinance outlines several key components authorizing the town to implement devices at various locations around town, supports violations and fines, as well as limitations on the use of owner information, and defines the use of revenue received from the program. Research from other communities shows significant reductions in both crashes and violations after implementing these types of programs. And I will turn it back to you, Madam Mayor, and the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. So this was just the subject of a public hearing and has been reviewed in committee prior. The actual details of the plan will be forthcoming in the next, I don't know, few months, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep, so we would be gathering information through public outreach over the course of the spring and summer and have a detailed plan brought back to the council for your approval in September.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that people understand that there will be other opportunities for public input as well. So, Ms. McGinnis, I don't know if you wanted, this will be coming back through your committee if you wanted to start with any comments.
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, I look forward to reviewing the plan that's put together and hearing from the community about what they think about it. I do think this is a positive step forward in helping to reduce speeding and car accidents. Also, the fact that we do get to keep the funds from this is a positive, given that we do not get to keep all the funds from tickets that are issued by our police force. So look forward to the upcoming work and to this coming through CPED this fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. Are there any other comments or questions? Ms. Blanks.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think this ordinance and the traffic safety devices is a welcome thing. I believe that I can say that a number of us sitting around this table have heard from our residents in town. I know I've certainly heard from residents. I have witnessed our drivers in town in terms of behavior. And I think with a device like this, it would introduce behavior change as soon as we go through all of the kinks and get it all worked out. As Councilor McGinnis said, there is a revenue source attached to it that would certainly assist with our town right now, especially after we heard from the public hearing the concerns around our budget and the increasing costs. One of the things, though, that I'd like to say is if nothing else changes behavior is when it hits somebody's pocketbook. So it may start off as, oh, I can handle $50, but when that $50 starts to add up in upwards of $100 or more, and especially, unfortunately, if it's your children or my children that's driving the car because of whatever reason, and they happen to violate something, and they fail to mention it to the parents or the guardian, and you get it in the mail, that is definitely basis for discussion and behavior change immediately. So I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I do believe that this would begin to change a lot of the habits that we observe in town. And so I think this is something that's welcome. Sure, we may have a lot of questions about the rollout. That's expected. But I think overall, I really think this is a good thing. And I do think that this would improve some of the things that we have all witnessed. And it's almost like it's about time. And we always ask, what can we do now? And I think this is something that we could implement immediately as long as we take care of all of the kinks and also offer what we mentioned, that appeal process if something happened in error. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Mr. Winograd?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do support this ordinance and for all the reasons stated already. And obviously, we need to slow down, and anything we can do to help that is certainly beneficial. I do want to address Ms. McConnell's very good comments in our public hearing, really raising social justice issues regarding these types of cameras. And it is absolutely a real concern throughout the country. We've certainly heard examples in other places, where it becomes a revenue maker in particularly vulnerable communities. And I think that the fact that this has taken so long to occur in Connecticut has actually been a result of concerns over those exact issues. The Connecticut Civil Liberties Union opposed these the statute that allows us to do this vehemently over the past, I think, 10, 15 years. It's a repeated issue coming up with the legislature. And finally this year, or last year, in response, I think, to a lot of the bad traffic that has occurred post-COVID and the rising deaths on our streets, that a real compromise was reached. So the location of these are restricted by state law. You can't put them just in the poorer neighborhoods. In fact, so our neighborhoods of need, there's a limit to how many cameras they can get, and that's very appropriate. The limitation on the privacy issues that were addressed, all these things were really covered by the statute. So whereas we know, and if you see the literature around the country, the concern for these is very real, and I think has been abused in many places. But I'm confident that the Connecticut legislature that we're following in the ordinance really does make this a practical issue, a practical way to reduce speeding without impinging on people's privacy or civil liberties. So with that, with this ordinance, I can certainly support it. And I do want to thank our legislature and advocates on both sides for having crafted a really good bill that balances those interests. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. Very well said, and things I was going to share too. Anybody else? Ms. Fay.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, Ben. I really appreciated that because those were some of the concerns that I shared with the speaker in the hearing as well. I do know we do have to do something. Absolutely, positively we do. And the ideal solution is to have The police officers, as was said by my colleague, in traffic enforcement, they can't be everywhere. There's a lot of things they need to do. So I am very pleased that this will be a pilot and that we can evaluate to make sure that it's doing what we intend to do. And surprise, surprise, I will be supporting this.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Any other comments? Okay, so I just want to say that Mr. Ledwith had said in the public hearing, that, obviously this is an enforcement mechanism, and we've talked about it a number of times. What would be the best situation is if we made no money from this. There were no tickets that were ultimately issued, and people were driving in a safer way. But sometimes it does take, as Ms. Blank said, a pinch of the dollar to remind us of how important it is for us to slow down and to drive more safely. And we really do want a lasting culture of safety in our community. And as Mr. Winograd said so well, this was a very thoughtful bill and really, I think, navigated a lot of challenges on many sides. And I think they're going to be looking for feedback to some of the communities that implement, in Stamford, New Haven, and we at Washington First. It's a very small community, very different than New Haven, Stamford, and West Hartford. But we are looking forward to evaluating how this program does work, and hopefully it is a tool and a helpful tool for us to achieve much safer streets. Again, we're going to remain extremely committed to many other Vision Zero priorities, but this will allow us to achieve them even if funding from the state and the federal government is not available to us. So in these, what we expect it to be continued financially challenging times. As Mr. Ledwith said in the public hearing, cities that have used these devices have reduced crashes at 40%, serious and fatal crashes. So this is a force multiplier for the police, and it is important for us to do in a thoughtful way, and I really thank the state for doing it. I also want to just give a thank you to Parker Sorensen, who allowed us to achieve a Safe Streets for All grant. Without his help, I don't know if we would have done that, as well as our Community Services Director, Dwayne Martin, and our chiefs that had an enormous input into this process as well, and the leadership of our town manager. Thank you so much. It's still a ways away, and you will have the opportunity to have some input on locations. And so, but we are this is something that we are looking forward to implementing. So we will go, if there's nothing further, we will go to a roll call vote. Mr. Davidoff.
Counselor Blanks.
Yes.
Mayor Cantor.
Yes.
Counselor Cortez is absent. Counselor Fay.
Yes.
Counselor McGinnis.
Yes.
Counselor Poland.
Yes.
Counselor Walters.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Yes.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
No.
Okay, thank you. Y'all, okay. Then we go to 7A, new business. Mr. Winograd.
7B, I believe. No, A, I'm sorry. I'm reading it wrong. Move to adopt a resolution appropriating funds awarded under the Federal Highway Safety Program.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our police department applied for and received a $38,579 grant to support distracted driver enforcement in areas identified in high rates of fatal and high injury crashes. That money has been received, and we have begun the work of our enforcement throughout town. So you'll hopefully see a lot of that over the next few weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. Are there any comments or questions? I think this was already ahead of us in the news a little bit, so people are getting a little heads up. So, no comments or questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Letter B.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now I'll get to B. Move to adopt a resolution appropriating funds for the Drug Enforcement Fund.
Second. Sorry. Oh, motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution will allow the police department to utilize $4,905 from the Drug Enforcement Fund to send 6 officers to the New England Narcotic Enforcement Officers Conference on May 21st through May 23rd. The Drug Enforcement Fund is a fund whereby drug asset forfeitures are deposited and can be used for substance abuse treatment programs, education programs, and investigation, apprehending, and prosecuting individuals for drug crimes as well. So, through you, Madam Mayor, happy to answer any questions that the council had.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. I didn't know if anybody has any questions on this. We did discuss in public safety.
Finance and administration.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
finance. They're all blending together. Sorry about that. Yeah, right. Okay. Seeing no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We are now to town manager's report. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you. The town manager's report can be found online. I'll hit a couple of highlights for folks this evening. For upcoming council business, we do have a Community Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting next week, April 16th at 8 a.m. It's a virtual meeting. We have our Special Services District budget adoption on April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers, followed by the budget adoption by the town council on April 22nd at 7:30 here in the council chambers. At each council meeting over the next several months, I'll update you and the community on the West Hartford Center construction project. A staging area for construction activities is in place at the Arapahoe lot. The EV charging stations and permit parking for businesses at 125 LaSalle Road will remain accessible throughout the project. And the pull-off area to the right of the parking lot entrance is also available for convenient ride-share services or food delivery drop-offs. As part of the project, on March 31st, 36 trees were removed to make way for a healthier, more resilient streetscape. During the last phase of the project, later this summer, fall, 52 new trees will be planted in engineered tree pits designed to support strong root growth and manage stormwater runoff. The innovative soil cell system will help the trees thrive while preventing root-related damage to surrounding paved surfaces. Road work began on April 4th with curb cuts, test pit excavation, and the installation of temporary handicap ramps on Ellsworth Road and temporary fencing in sections 1A and 1B. Section 1A is on the east side of LaSalle Road from Ellsworth Road to Memorial Road, and Section 1B is on the west side of LaSalle Road from Central Optica to Farmington Avenue. This week, demolition will begin in the first two sections. As part of our commitment to supporting local businesses during construction, the town has been working closely with our project team to design custom businesses open during construction signs. These signs will be installed beneath our existing wayfinding signage at key locations, including the Exit 43 off-ramp, Exit 41 eastbound off-ramp, and the Troutbrook Drive northbound at Memorial Road, helping to ensure clear visibility and access for visitors and commuters. We're also working on several larger signs that we will place throughout LaSalle, and we will be moving those around the different phases of the construction, showing visitors what the new design will look like. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for that tip. That should be coming within the next several days or so. So we're working hard on that right now. As I did say, the West Hartford Police Department is partnering with earlier when I talked about that resolution, with the Connecticut Department of Transportation for National Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Thanks to a DOT grant, you'll see increased law enforcement on the roadways looking for distracted drivers in April. West Hartford's curbside collection of yard waste begins this week for B Week streets and next week for A Week streets. Yard waste will be picked up every other week, coinciding with your recycling collection day. The program will run through the last week of October. Place your biodegradable bags or brown yard waste cart at the curb by 6 a.m. to ensure pickup. Acceptable material includes yard trimmings, pine needles and pine cones, acorns, twigs, flowers, fruit, and vegetables from a household garden, leaves, dead plant matter, and thatch. And the Department of Public Works will be offering 2 paper shredding events, one on Saturday, April 12th, and the second on Saturday, June 21st. InfoShred will safely shred your confidential papers for free. The event will be held from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. or until the truck at the side entrance of 17 Brixton Street is full. Please bring sensitive documents only. This service is available to West Hartford residents only. Please bring your ID. We will be collecting non-perishable food items at this event to stock the shelves of our local food pantry and help our neighbors in need. Starting on Tuesday, April 22nd, Earth Day, West Hartford will launch its food scraps recycling program. EPA estimates that food scraps account for about 24% of what people throw away. By removing food scraps from the waste program, the fees to dispose of trash, which are calculated by weight, are reduced. Food scrap disposal costs about 30% less than trash. The first step to getting ready for the food scrap program is to download the free MetroKey app to access the drop-off bin. Next, start separating your household food scraps. Unlike backyard composting, this commercial program accepts all food, including meat, bones, dairy, and spoiled food. The last step is to bring the food scraps to any of the 4 drop-off locations at any time of the day. Once there, open your app, click the icon for your current drop-off location, press the pedal to the bottom left of the bin, and the lid will open and you can drop your food scraps inside. The 4 drop-off locations are Town Hall to the right of the main entrance, Eisenhower Park, Norfelt Field, and the Yard Waste and Recycling Center at Brixton. Food scraps are processed locally by Quantum Biopower in Southington, Connecticut. More information will be sent out to our community as well. And the rest of the town manager's report can be found online. There's several other items for folks to view. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to answer any questions on any of those issues.
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
anything else.
Ledwith. Are there any questions for the town manager? Okay, Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you. I believe also the Public Works, there was an email that came out recently where they were offering for sale food scrap bins or composting bins and also rain barrels, I think, to go along with that.
Yeah, I can get some more information out to you guys on that and to the community. I didn't see that myself.
It was in the last week,
Okay, all
I
right.
believe.
I'll get some information out to
Okay,
to
we
you.
will.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll
Thank
get
you.
more information. I did not hear that either, so I don't know. But that would be good to know. All right. Can I do my announcements, Mr. Dodge, if I get a vote to, or do I have to switch the agenda? Oh, sure. All right, I'll go fast. The 2 of you were like, don't do it. All right. Announcements. West Hartford Greater Community Together Fund is seeking volunteers to serve on this really unique grant opportunity. This is the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and the grant application for grants are in the amount of $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 will be accepted from nonprofit organizations proposing programs or projects that benefit West Hartford residents. Preference will be given to programs, projects that build an inclusive West Hartford community by addressing mental health, social, and/or basic human needs. Apply by April 30th. A second virtual informational meeting will be held on April 15th, and there is a registration link. Narcan training will take place on April 17th, 11 to 12 at the Elmwood Community Center. Participants will receive a free box of naloxone. Registration is not required. Please contact Susan Walsh, and the link again is on our website. Spring 2025 Diabetes Self-Management Workshop begins April 23rd and continues on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. Pre-registration is required, I think, or recommended. There is a contact Susan Walsh again on that. Voices of Hope, April 25th to 28th. This is honoring the memory of 6 million people who perished during the Holocaust. The events include the State of Connecticut Holocaust commemoration on Friday, April 25th at 10 a.m. in the Senate chambers at the Capitol. Yom HaShoah commemoration, Sunday, April 27th, 2 p.m. right here at Town Hall. Reading of the names begins at 1:30 p.m. And then there's a community-wide reading of the names Monday, April 28th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Mandel JCC. And if you haven't signed up to read names, you can stop by and light a candle in remembrance of the Shoah. Encore Pop Rocks, April 26th. This is their annual fundraiser and will take place 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. And there is a link on their website. And again, their major fundraiser. And lastly, the 60th Annual Pancake Festival, April 26th, by the Greater Hartford Lions Club, will be held at Farmington Avenue Baptist Church, 149 Mountain Road, 8 a.m. again to 12 p.m. And there is a raffle, 50-50 raffle, with a prize pot of $2,500, and you can click on for tickets. Any other announcements? Okay, Ms. Fay.
I'm sure you will be there. The Yukon Parade is Saturday for the Yukon women national champs, and I can't wait to see them. That was a great game.
Yeah, so I do want to give a shout out to our Lady Huskies. They were phenomenal during this whole season, but they just are legends and remarkable. And it might be wet and cold, but come celebrate our Yukon women. They're real champions. All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, then we will go to suspense item, Mr. Winograd. Oh, Mr. Dodge first, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, with your indulgence, I would ask for the suspension of the rules to add an item to the agenda that is timely, but we were not able to add prior to the agenda being noticed. So this will require two motions, one to open the agenda and add the item, and the second to go into an executive session to discuss the item. So, Madam Mayor, I would ask for a motion to add an item to a discussion of pending litigation, Vivian Johnson versus Town of West Hartford Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Mr. Winograd?
So moved, or should I read it out?
Without objection, no. Move it.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Okay, is there any objection? There being no objection, the motion is added to the item is added to the agenda, and now we will go, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. Oh.
Sorry.
No, Madam Mayor, just for members of the audience, we will be going to executive session to discuss strategy with regard to this pending litigation. I do not anticipate that the council will be taking any action when we return from executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Mr. Winograd?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss strategy and negotiations with respect to pending litigation, Vivian Johnson versus Board of Education, docket number HHD CV 22-6154834S.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. Is there any objection? All right, seeing no objection, we will enter into executive session. I invite Corporation Counsel, Deputy Corporation Counsel, Attorney Jonathan Serling, and the Town Manager to join us.